So this is what I call the gatekeeper of the primitive trail. This is actually one of the hardest parts of the trail. It doesn't look that steep, but believe me guys, this is a very, very steep section of trail that I'm walking on here. If you can make it up this, you'll probably make it up the entire trail. So that's why we call it the gatekeeper. And we're finally up here on top of the mesa, taking a look out here. Got some gnarled trees, walking out on the slick rock. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous day here in March. It's about 83 degrees today. To get to this trail, you'll park in the Devil's Garden parking lot all the way at the very end of Arches National Park. Then hike to Landscape Arch, which I'll be covering in a different video. Keep going past Landscape Arch and you'll make it to the Gatekeeper. This little viewpoint I'm standing on offers a pretty expansive look of the Devil's Garden area and the greater Moab area as well, as you can see the red cliff off in the distance there. Looking way, way out. They call that the Kissing Rock, and you'll see why later in this video when we take a look at it from a different angle. And of course, the parking lot for Tower Arch is way out there in the distance. And now we'll get a look at the Abayo Mountains. These are different than the LaSalle's, and there's not as many places you can see these guys from in Moab, and you definitely need a clear day. Next, we come to one of my favorite parts of this hike. It's a very beautiful view here. You do have sheer cliffs on both sides, as we'll be taking a look at right here. And right here for the other side. It's a pretty wide slick rock fin to walk on. Anyone should be able to walk up here pretty easily. Just make sure you watch the edges and watch your footing. But the view is just absolutely incredible of the valley down below. So this next part of the hike, you're going to want to pay close attention to where you're walking. This will be off camber, and believe me guys, this is a lot tougher than it looks on camera. It's not undoable, it's not really even the hardest part of this trail. But once again, just pay close attention to where you're walking here. And as we come up here, we'll get our first look at Double O Arch. And as we continue on here, this is one place where we're definitely going to want to take a look out here at Dark Angel and Owl Rock. And as we continue down the trail, we're really going to want to pay close attention to where we're putting our feet. It's not necessarily a hard trail, but this is a place you really don't want to make a mistake. Make sure you guys watch out for this little step here. Right there. Continuing on down the fin. Trail turns as indicated by the sign. And you guys will probably have noticed that some of the colors and some other stuff looks a bit different. These videos were not shot on the same day as some of the other footage. I prefer to give you guys clean looks at all these places. And by clean looks, I mean not a whole lot of other people, or ideally 0 other people out here when you're looking at these formations. Some of these more popular arches, that's not always an easy thing to do, so it usually takes multiple days of recording to get what I consider proper footage. And here we are walking towards Double O Arch. This is one of the cooler arches in the park, guys, so if you haven't seen it yet, I definitely recommend checking it out. We have a nice close-up look here. And we'll be continuing on to Dark Angel shortly. This part of the trail, the boulder squeeze, which you're going between these 2 giant boulders. Of course, you get a nice view here of Dark Angel and all the rock outcroppings way out there. And as we turn around, we're going to get a look at the back side of Double O Arch. And we'll take a slightly closer look at one of these really twisted trees. They really are unique. Every one looks different. It really would feel right at home in some kind of horror movie. And right here we have an arch that many people miss. You guys are going to be on the trail to Dark Angel. You're going to see Double O right there. This twisted dead tree right here. A rock here. A rock there. Now the most important thing you can look for is this formation right here. You want this formation to be right at your back. So look at it. Turn around 180 degrees. Look out. And you'll see the arch right here. So if you guys take a look out here at Dark Angel and look slightly to the right, you'll see Owl Rock. Looks like a rock with a little owl sitting on top of it. I'm not sure what you'd call this guy, but he's too cool not to mention and not show off. Maybe chisel rock, since it looks sort of like the handle on a chisel. Of course, if you turn around, you got a beautiful view of the LaSalle Mountains. Not looking too snowy this year, but they're still beautiful. And of course, what you all came here for, Dark Angel. Now you can get a permit and climb this guy. I have seen people do it. The other cool thing about Dark Angel, a lot of people stop at Double O and don't come any further. So if you guys enjoy trails all to yourself, or at least less people in general, this is a great place to come to.
And there's some pretty cool rock formations out here too. Admittedly, few, if any, arches. And of course, I wouldn't be doing this place justice without an up close of Dark Angel. You can hear a little bit of an echo probably off the rock here, off Dark Angel itself. You see all the white rock down here at the base. Which is formed by either iolite or chlorite. If you guys recognize the name, it's because chlorite is what's used to make chlorine, which is what gives pools their color. It can be white or more greenish. Obviously, this is the white variant. And the more beautiful one, if you ask me. Contrasts really well. If you guys see all these rocks here, fell from here sometime soon, probably within the next 100 years, we're going to see this guy fall. No idea when. 100 years might seem like a long time, but when you're talking about all the rock faces and cliff sides here, that's a pretty short time period, actually. This place forms over millions of years. And if you guys take a look out here, this is the same area that you'd go hike to get to Tower Arch. And that's the road to it way, way out there. Of course, you got a formation beyond Dark Angel as well. But other thing that you guys have to come see, and so many people don't. So if you guys walk past back here, past Dark Angel itself, come onto the back side here, you'll see an interesting little area. Now this is a really cool little area to come, reach, and touch, because it usually feels a bit moist, and it does right now. Now in the height of summer, maybe it dries out. I've never personally seen it completely bone dry. It's pretty dry at the moment. After a big rainstorm, that will feel very wet right there. So it's actually wicking off this thing. Nothing's gonna fall into there on its own. It's a very cool little place to come and touch. Make sure you're very gentle and don't break any of the formations out here when you do it. And if we walk a little bit further, and again, if you guys do walk back here, please make sure you don't step on the biocrust. You can see some of the other cool formations out here. Now this is the other cool thing that you guys might want to check out. I call him the Sandman. Kind of looks like a snowman that kids would make, except obviously he's made of sandstone. There's his head. Continuing on to the other side of Dark Angel, we take a look up here. We see it's actually made up of fractured rock on this side. Eventually this will fall as well. Of course, we have a beautiful viewpoint to stand here and look out. We see Owl Rock. This is the angle you guys really want to see if you want it to look like an owl. Of course, the LaSalle's out in the distance. And that's Arches right there. Of course, way out in the distance, once again, we can see the Fat Man. He's such a cool formation because there's so many places you can see him from. As you can see here, guys, it really is spring in Moab. We already have our buds breaking and flowers starting to form here. So here's one of the other cool things that quite a few people miss, guys. I call this Heart Hollow Rock. So if you guys look here, it looks like an upside down heart. Made naturally by the wind, rain, blowing sand, whatever. Completely natural. This is not man-made. You guys want to see it? You want to stand between Dark Angel and this rock right here. Look out and you'll see it right here. Also nearby Heart Hollow Rock, if you guys walk around, see this little rock here. I don't know what you call this formation. It's kind of cool. Too small to be considered an arch. Would qualify as a window. So if you guys climb up onto this little rock here, makes a pretty good seat actually. Up here on Dark Angel, you look out here in the distance, you guys can see Monitor and Merrimack. This is a formation that's visible from quite a few places in Moab, although not nearly as many as the Fat Man. You can see him as well. There he is, right there. And of course, beautiful viewpoint to see the LaSalle's. Owl Rock. And a pretty expansive view of Arches National Park itself as well. They call that the kissing rock because it looks like one rock's kissing the other.
We've seen falcons in a previous video, but these guys are ravens. Ravens tend to be much more common than falcons out here. And there's some that are fairly friendly, especially if you go out by Delicate Arch. But please make sure you don't feed them. Otherwise, they become too human friendly. Next, we'll be taking a look at the petroglyphs. Unlike other times, I won't be pointing out what I think these look like, so feel free to pause the video on any you find interesting and let your imagination run wild. Also, this is one time I won't be providing directions to something. Unfortunately, some people like to add their own rock drawing. I've even had some very crazy kids out on the rocks playing tic-tac-toe. I feel like if you're dedicated enough to seek these guys out, you're much more likely to be respectful. But I'm open to discussion on this. So feel free to leave in the comments whether you agree or disagree with keeping this place a secret. And maybe in the future, I'll consider making a guide on how to get to this place. As always, please like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend you think might enjoy it. And join me again next Saturday night here on Magical Moab.